There are days when the crying doesn't come out. It gets stuck in your throat, wets your eyes, runs in silence. No one hears, no one sees. But in heaven there is a full flask, with everything you couldn't say. There are pains that don't scream. There are pains that don't spill over. There are pains that simply accumulate layer after layer until you yourself forget where the weight began. And yet something inside you knows. It wasn't supposed to be this heavy. The truth is, you never learned to cry freely. From an early age, you were trained to swallow what you felt, to seem strong, to keep going even when your chest begged for pause. And today, without realizing it, the crying has stopped coming out. It just stays there, living at the edge of your eyes like a cry for help that lost its voice. And when that pain tightens, it seems like no one notices. Because you cried where no one could see, swallowed the scream so you wouldn't bother anyone, faked smiles, hid the pain. It's strange how life goes on even when the soul stops. You get up, work, talk to people, reply to messages, fulfill responsibilities. Everything seems normal on the outside. But inside, there's a heavy silence, an emptiness that hurts, an exhaustion you can't explain. And when you lie down, thinking that maybe God doesn't hear what you can't even say, something secret happens. Heaven leans in that silent moment, and the crying no one saw, God gathers in his hand. Maybe you've already thought you shouldn't feel all this, that a strong Christian wouldn't get this tired, that someone with faith shouldn't lock up like this. But the Bible never promised you'd be made of iron. The Bible said God would keep your tears, and that changes everything. The pain you hid was also seen. The despair you swallowed was also heard. The silence you embraced was also understood. Why? Because God doesn't only respond to words, God responds to intentions. He hears even what you can't formulate. The whole heaven moves when your soul sighs. And it's at this point that many get it wrong. They think God only answers beautiful, complete, strong prayers. They think God only pays attention when there's eloquence, clarity, speech. But no, Psalm 56:8 reveals a God who doesn't miss a single tear, a God who doesn't let escape even the tear that didn't fall, a God who understands even what stayed stuck, because to him, even silence has a voice. And maybe you've already lived something like this. Moments when everything seemed calm on the outside, but inside you there was an earthquake. Moments when you held back tears in the car, in the shower, at work, at the dinner table. Moments when you said it's all good with a smile while your chest said the opposite. And when no one saw, you thought, it's over for me. But it was in that thought, in that tired sigh, in that silent surrender that God came closer. He didn't wait for you to get better. He didn't demand that you react. He simply drew near and whispered, not in your ear, but in your spirit, I am still here. That's the kind of love that doesn't invade, but remains, doesn't demand, but sustains, doesn't force, but embraces. God isn't waiting for you to burst into tears to finally act. He's already acting in the tears you couldn't release. He isn't waiting for a long prayer to move. He's already moving in the sigh you let escape without meaning to. And it's here that the song you wrote fits perfectly. Because you cried alone, but God saw it all, felt every sigh of yours. In the silence of your room, he sat beside you. And even without words, heaven understood. You thought no one cared, but it was in that moment that God loved you most. There's a mysterious beauty in this. God doesn't despise the trapped crying. He considers it as valuable as the spilled tears. He doesn't require you to break down to then offer comfort. He comforts you the exact moment you lock up. God knows when your heart tries to feel and can't, when it tries to speak and nothing comes out, when it tries to be strong and fails, when it tries to pray and only breathes, and when you tried to be strong for everyone to see, but inside you were begging for someone to notice. God was there. He saw the attempt, saw the effort, saw the exhaustion, and when the prayer became just a sigh, it was enough for heaven to start acting. You never needed to impress God. You never needed to perform faith. You never needed to earn an answer. God sees the inside, God sees what no one else sees. God understands what you don't even understand yourself, and everything you try to hide from others, God treats as revelation. And no matter how much you think your silence means nothing, it means a lot to God. He reads your silence like an open letter. He gathers every emotional detail like someone guarding treasure. Because to him, no pain is insignificant. No tear is useless. No suffocation is ignored. And that's why when pain says, "It's over for me," God replies, "It will start again here." It doesn't matter how long your crying has been trapped. It doesn't matter how much you've hidden. It doesn't matter if no one noticed. It doesn't matter if you yourself don't feel anything anymore. God doesn't need tears to act. He only needs you, as you are, even locked up, even silent, even tired. Heaven doesn't demand noise. Heaven responds to sincerity. And sometimes sincerity is just this: taking a deep breath and continuing to exist. God does the rest. When you thought you were alone, he was gathering what you couldn't let go. When you thought no one cared, he was counting your comings and goings. When you thought heaven was silent, he was listening with double attention. You cried alone, but were never alone. There are moments in life when the soul doesn't explode, it simply falls asleep. There's no explosion, no visible collapse, no drama. Just a deep exhaustion that settles in slowly, taking territory inside you without making a sound. And the hardest part is that, at first, you don't even notice. You just get used to that weight that wasn't supposed to be there. Little by little, you start to feel that something inside you is slower. What once awakened sensitivity now seems distant. What once moved you emotionally now just passes through you. It's not hardness. It's emotional exhaustion. A kind of anesthesia that arises after holding back so much, avoiding conflicts so much, trying to be strong so much. And this produces a strange effect. You remain present but not fully. You keep talking but without depth. You keep living but without feeling alive. There's a huge difference between being tired of the world and being tired of yourself. And you know which one hurts more. The first one you solve by resting. The second doesn't always find a quick solution. When exhaustion comes from within, it touches areas no one else sees. And that's why it's so hard to explain. You didn't choose this kind of silence, it just happened. It happened after accumulated frustrations, after conversations that hurt you more than they seemed to, after giving yourself in places where there was no return, after trusting people who weren't ready for it. And without realizing it, you started keeping everything inside. Not as someone who wants to hide, but as someone who no longer knows what to do with what they feel. It's here that many believe they've failed spiritually. They think, if I were right with God, I wouldn't be like this. If my faith were strong, I wouldn't be carrying this. If I were stronger, I wouldn't be this exhausted. But the truth is very different. Even those who deeply love God go through inner deserts. And these deserts aren't always places of punishment. Often they're places of revelation. Emotional silence isn't always God's absence. Sometimes it's the ground where he begins to work more discreetly, more deeply, more truly. You don't notice it, but while you try to survive days that all seem the same, something inside you is being reorganized. There are parts you lost along the way, and God is gathering them. There are feelings you let fall asleep, and God is waking them up. There are aspects of your identity that broke into small pieces, and God is gathering them one by one. And this reconstruction doesn't happen in a defining moment, in an intense experience, in a crowded church service, in loud music. Most of the time it happens exactly where you think nothing is happening. It's in the silence. Silence is a strange place. It can be frightening, but it can also be sacred. It's there that the voices that confuse you grow weaker. It's there that the soul, even exhausted, finds space to be sincere. It's there that God speaks in ways only those who've been broken can understand. Not with thunder, not with visions, not with angels, but with that thought that arrives gently, almost imperceptibly, yet changes everything. I am here. Those 3 words don't immediately remove the pain, but they dismantle the most dangerous lie. The one that says you're alone. Because you're not. And when that truth begins to penetrate, even slowly, something inside you starts to move again. First as a sigh, then as a thread of hope, then as a small courage to believe that maybe, just maybe, not everything is over. God doesn't pressure you in this process. He doesn't demand a quick reaction. He doesn't expect you to go back to who you were before. In fact, He doesn't even want you to go back. His goal isn't to restore you to the old normal. It's to lead you to a place you've never been, a place of emotional maturity, spiritual sensitivity, and real healing. The pain you swallowed won't be wasted. It's being used as part of the process. Not to punish you, but to strengthen you. Not to harden you, but to deepen you. And as this happens, something even quieter is changing. The way you see God. Before, you imagined a God who acts when you're strong. But now you're getting to know the God who acts when you're tired. Before, you saw God as someone waiting for you to improve. Now you realize He's sitting beside you while you're just trying to function. This is the God who enters the backstage of the soul. The God who works when you feel nothing. The God who doesn't need your strength to sustain you. The God who doesn't need your words to understand you. The God who doesn't need your tears to know you're hurting. And as this awareness grows, you begin to notice small reactions within yourself. A little less weight when you wake up, a little more calm to face the day, a slight feeling that something is on the right path, even if nothing has changed on the outside. This is healing beginning. True healing doesn't start when everything gets better. It starts when you realize you don't have to face anything alone. You don't need to rip the pain out by force. You don't need to manufacture tears. You don't need to fake faith. You don't need to explain the unexplainable. You just need to allow God to keep doing in the silence what you don't have the strength to do. The process is slow, but it's real. And when you look back, you'll realize that this period, this exact period, was the ground where God began to rebuild who you are inside. The silence that once suffocated you will be the same silence that witnesses your restoration. There are periods in life when everything seems to continue the same way on the outside, but inside something begins to move. It's not a sudden change, not an immediate answer, not sudden relief. It's almost imperceptible, like a gentle wind passing through the soul and leaving the feeling that something has started to shift, even if the mind still doesn't understand. The truth is that God works very differently from what we expect. Most people imagine His action always comes with impact, with clear signs, with strong emotions. But most of the time, He operates silently, deeply, almost invisibly, reaching areas no one else can. This discreet movement usually happens precisely when you believe you're standing still. It's not that you feel good, you're just continuing to exist. You fulfill obligations, answer what needs answering, live what needs living. But inside you, there's something that still isn't resolved. A feeling that strength, clarity, direction are missing. And suddenly, without you having forced it, some things start to reorganize. You notice unexpected lightness in a situation that once took your peace. Or you realize an old pain doesn't weigh exactly the same way. Or simply you notice you're not as drowned in your own silence as you imagined. None of this is accidental. It's God acting in the inner layers where you yourself couldn't reach. The Bible shows several times that God works before the change manifests. One of the most striking examples is the scene where Jesus arrives at Lazarus's tomb. Everyone was waiting for an immediate response, a quick solution, a visible miracle. But Jesus, before acting, approached the pain of the people there. He observed, felt, understood, and He wept. This gesture has a deep meaning. Before transforming what's around, God usually touches what's within. The external miracle came later. But the internal miracle, the encounter with human pain, came first. That's exactly what's happening with you now. Before God changes circumstances, He's strengthening what became fragile. Before He opens doors, He's working on your breath. Before He answers questions, He's restoring your ability to feel, to believe, to trust again. And this restoration doesn't happen all at once. It appears gradually, in small, almost hidden details. There are days when you notice a little more clarity, others when you can do what once seemed impossible, and moments when you realize you're not carrying everything alone, even though no one around you has said a word. It's in those hours that the verse comes alive. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Psalm 46. This promise doesn't speak of a distant God, waiting for you to get better to help. It speaks of someone present, not when everything is resolved, but right in the trouble. God doesn't show up afterward. He was already there before. Often, what prevents you from noticing this is your own emotional exhaustion. Fatigue makes any sign seem too small to be noticed. Weariness mixes everything: feelings, expectations, prayers, thoughts. And in that tangle you end up thinking God isn't speaking. But He is. Just in a way different from what you expected. He speaks when He gives you calm in a moment that once caused you despair. He speaks when an old memory no longer paralyzes you like before. He speaks when you can rest a little more than last week. He speaks when something inside you doesn't give up, even when everything around seems unfavorable. This kind of intervention has no shine, no spectacle, no sound. But it has depth. It's the kind of healing that happens at the right pace. God doesn't pressure you to be strong. He doesn't rush emotions that need time. He accompanies. He touches. He restores. And in this process, you begin to realize that what seemed definitive, that feeling of emptiness, that lack of energy, that difficulty feeling, isn't as absolute as it seemed. God is rebuilding you from within. Not so you go back to who you were, but so you become someone more whole, more stable, more aware of your own worth. And this reconstruction happens without witnesses. Most people around you will never notice what God is doing in you, because He works in the place no one can see, the exact point where your soul was wounded. When Jesus wept before Lazarus's tomb, He wasn't just expressing emotion, He was revealing a principle. God's love enters your pain before He moves your story. So it is with you. He enters the point of emotional exhaustion. He descends to the level of your vulnerability. He touches what you thought was lost. And while He does this, He prepares the way for the next phase, a phase of lighter breathing, firmer steps, life awakening in areas you thought would never return. God's intervention, at first, seems small, but when it's complete, you realize He was guiding everything with a precision you could never have had alone. Behind the silence, there was care. Behind the fatigue, there was preservation. Behind your feeling of being stuck, there was a God moving everything from within. And this is just the beginning. When God works from within, He doesn't need to announce it. He simply acts. And when you notice, you're already different. The things that once imprisoned you can no longer hold you like before. The memories that once hurt you now only remind you that you're alive. What once paralyzed you now only requires a longer sigh. This is how true restoration happens. Without spectacle, but with depth. Without noise, but with precision. Without urgency, but with purpose. And maybe that's what you're starting to feel, not a strong emotion but a new sensitivity, as if your heart were relearning how to respond. As if something inside you had awakened after a long time. It's not euphoria, it's life. God's grace doesn't just restore well-being, it restores perspective. It restores direction. It restores the feeling that a possible future exists, even when you still can't see it clearly. When God decides to restore someone, He doesn't try to rebuild what existed before. He forms something new, more stable, more mature, more aware, more rooted in truth than in fear. And now that you've come this far, it's as if God said, I didn't bring you this far to leave you confused. I brought you to strengthen you. You don't need to force anything. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to run after something God is already placing before you. Restoration doesn't depend on your control over circumstances, but on your willingness to open up just a little more to His care. And it's in this spirit that we reach this moment, a moment of sincere surrender. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to slow down. Let God draw near. He knows exactly where to touch. Close your eyes and let's pray, Father. I stand before you now with all the respect and surrender I can manage. You know the story of the person praying with me. You know where she wore herself out, where she tried to keep going without strength, where she silenced pain so as not to become a burden to anyone. Look at her heart with your infinite compassion. Touch, Father, the places that have been tense for too long, where unspoken words created barriers, where old memories left marks, where the soul hid because it no longer knew how to ask for help. Touch with your gentleness, not to expose but to heal. Wrap this life in your peace, the peace that doesn't depend on the environment, on explanations, or on immediate results. The peace that simply arrives and settles, like someone finding home. Calm the racing thoughts, ease the weight pressing on the chest, align the feelings that cross without direction. Show, Lord, that not everything needs to be resolved now. Some things only need to be surrendered. May she feel she's not being watched from afar, but is being held closely. May she realize that even in the moments she thought she walked alone, you were holding what she could no longer carry. Renew what was lost amid the battles. Rekindle the courage that wore thin. Strengthen what became too sensitive. Restore the light that seemed extinguished. Give her a new breath, renewed strength, a gaze that sees possibility where there was only exhaustion. Lord, embrace this person with a presence so real that no doubt can push it away. Show that you are a safe refuge, firm direction, an answer that never fails. Show that even when she thought heaven was distant, you were gathering every tear, keeping every sigh, recording every silent struggle. Guide her next steps, illuminate decisions, close doors that would bring confusion, open paths that bring peace. Give discernment to recognize what comes from you and wisdom to reject what drains the soul. I entrust her into your hands, hands that don't tremble, don't lose, don't give up. Take care of her today, tomorrow, and in all that is yet to come. In Jesus' name, amen. If this devotional found a place in your heart, write in the comments, Lord, keep restoring my heart. It's not just a comment, it's a seed. And if you want to walk with us on this journey of healing, hope, and depth, stay close. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and take a moment to breathe here with us. You are not walking through this alone. There is a place for you here,